Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Iron Horseman screenshot competition. I'm your host, Ellis, otherwise known as the Admiral. And this is the first time we're not doing it live. There are reasons for this. I can dig into my scheduling dilemmas and why we're doing this uh, in the middle of a Royale season, and also I can talk about, in the same breath, why I cannot actually produce this on a Wednesday. No, it has nothing to do with Tyler's availability and everything to do with mine. I have meetings for the Old Warwick Grange one Wednesday a month. So we have to take a break from the Royales, because those are done on Wednesday, for me to pre-record something to go up. This is being filmed on Tuesday night. The submissions were just closed a few minutes ago, 13 minutes ago as of this moment, and I am ready to dig in and start going through them. There are 13, as you can see, and I have no idea what I'm getting into. So the first one I can see is called Bittersweet Tranquility. We're going to copy these in one by one. I did actually set up these already. And this is by Autotrain GEU 36B 4000. That'd be Ian. I need to go and find this one, so give me just a moment. It's in here. Bittersweet Tranquility. If I can drop it in. There we go. Oh. Okay. This is my first time seeing it also, so I should have just popped it open just to see it. And yeah, that's my response. Just aw. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of finding Chris in the at the beginning of the second season of The Iron Horseman. Um this is a fairly well put together thing. It definitely has an impact. I mean, it's a gut punch. Especially with 2102 just being restored. I certainly see the relevance to the current day. Not that that was any part of the prompt. The prompt was end of Steam. Uh, and we will see how well this reflects. I mean, obviously, it works. We will see how well this reflects when we get to the story part of it. I did notice there was a song. I opened it up just to see what it was. Bittersweet Symphony. I didn't take the time to listen to it. I wanted to get into the reviews, but I'm also holding my hands under my desk, I guess, so I stop with the beebity boobity. But uh, I'm just looking around at the stuff in the background. I love the tarp covered thing. I see something. It looks like an RS there on the left, a tank of some kind. Honestly, this is pretty well done. The only thing that trips me up here is the rails are too shiny. I don't know what kind of track that is. Maybe they're not actually shiny. Maybe it's just a trick. But that's the only thing that I see and go, could he use rusty rails? But either way, let's get into the story part of this, because I'm very much enjoying this. I'm going to need to remember to click over to the right thing. I have the other Discord open as well. So the story. If Trainz could talk, what would they say? Would they brag and boast about how many cars they could pull? Would they have a friendly chat with their crews? Or would we all just be schizophrenic? Whatever the case, it's not hard to imagine what would have been said to Reading 2001. Two? We just stuck along with sisters in Baltimore awaiting the torch. The sun might be coming up, but its career has finally come to an end with the last Iron Horse rambles. The very diesels that replaced it are now next to it, most likely never to move again. Maybe they've apologized for being so rude. Maybe they're thanking them for a friend. Who knows? They won't be around for much longer anyway. 2101 and its sister's future is left in uncertainty, left to gather rust and discarded as another machine that served its purpose. At least it can finally rest, and maybe something might come up in the future. Only time will tell what fate has in store. I am not a scholar on the history of the T-1s, but of course 2101 does still exist today. And my first takeaway from this is that it is trying very hard to set this melancholy tone, but it seems a little disjointed. I know this went up fairly quickly. I think this was the first submission that was sent in. And I can't help but wonder if maybe another pass at this would have resulted in it being a little bit more fluid. That said, the thing that I think is the oddest here is the opener versus what would have been said to Reading 2101. I think if you're going to go with that angle, you need to focus more on the diesel. Um, but either way, it's it's a melancholy piece. It does in fact set the mood as the thing would. Hmm. What? Oh yeah, he's trying to look his way out of the crate. Um, but let's talk about impact. Let's talk about the scores because I don't want to linger too long on each one. Um, impact, I'm willing to start off high. I want to give it an 8. Maybe 8 is a little bit high, but I have a bit of attachment to this sort of moment because of Iron Horseman stuff, like I mentioned, and because of it being topical. I think that lends to it. As for creativity, again, I don't know much about the history of the Reading T-1s. I mean, I know a little bit about them. I know a cursory overview, probably more than your average foamer, but I don't know many of the specifics or details. And I'm going to assume that this is by the book realistic, and you generally do a very good job of representing reality. Um, and I'm going to say that maybe that's more for a world. We're talking about creativity. This is not a direction that I would have expected for this, even though it fits the prompt pretty much textbook, more or less anyway. Um, so I have to say, for creativity, well, it's a big engine. It's out of steam. It's the end of the excursion career, which is a little bit unusual. Um, I'm gonna give it another 8. I like 8s tonight, I guess. For the construction of the scene, I'll give it a 9. Um, the only things that take away for that are the rails, like I mentioned, and there doesn't seem to be much in the background, but there doesn't need to be much in the background, so I'll give it a 9 for the rail. Composition. This is drawing my eye, and that I think is about it. Also, this being right behind the locomotive and not in very much contrast, I think presents a problem. If this was maybe over here, it might do a little bit better, but then maybe the scene would not be focused on the center enough. Basically, this pole I don't think is necessary for the composition. I like it. I really do like it, of course. But there are some scene choices that make me go, Again, this is something that I noticed afterward, but now I can't unsee it. And the way that draws my eye. Everything else is pretty good. I like the way the scene is set up. I like the way the engine is framed, the amount that you're pulled back from it. Maybe if you were a little bit closer, maybe if you sort of cropped it in like this, you'd be a little bit better, because the boxcar and the diesel on this side, I think, are really good. Um, you could play around with this and get it a little bit better, but bottom line, I think it deserves at least an 8, probably a 9, but I'll give it an 8 for now. Content. Now I need to remember what this is for, but let me see if there's anything down here. And I'm gonna throw this down here. While I'm back, I guess, for better or worse, wanted to do something like this for a while, finally an excuse to do so. Fun fact, I actually put down a ton of stuff on the ground, but you don't even see it because of the angle I chose in the end. Oh, that's a shame. With the prompt being end of steam, I decided to take that in a different way, with it not meaning the end of steam overall, but being the end of 2101 steam and career, at least until the AFT in 1975, of course. Really, we should thank the Striegel Supply and Equipment Corporation for 2101 and sisters' careers even today. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have the AFT or 2100, but I digress. Mainly, I wanted to give that seed of uncertainty, despite the fact that we know what happens next. Hey, I wanted to give the benefit of the doubt as, well, we know what happens to 2101, but who knows if this is in original timeline or not. Also, I joined not to win, but just to have fun, to recapture those moments I had all those months ago. And I did have fun making this. It's good to be back. Module made by me, content by Landver, TNL, Trainz, Joined Rail. That's great. Yeah, and I'm glad you enjoyed making this. This is as much for you guys as it is for me. Well, it's more for you guys than it is for me. You get to make something beautiful, and I get to nitpick it to death. But in seriousness, I do love the rust on this. Maybe it's just the angle because this looks good and this looks good and this looks decent. This does not. The boiler and stuff. But thankfully, it's spared by the angle that this is at. Um, I am going to give it like a 9 for content because there are some things that stick out. The tarp load, I think, is actually a plus. This boxcar is really old. This is really old. And I'm really torn on whether this is a plus or a minus, the rusted out engine. I mean, it definitely is better than it not being there, but I'm going to give it a 9 for content. Story. Yeah, this is probably the place where you're going to get hit the hardest. I'm sorry, but it could have deserved another pass and a little bit of organization in terms of what you were trying to say overall. All the pieces I think are good, but they don't fit together in a whole that flows very well. There's also a typo in there, but maybe I'm being too harsh, but I'm going to give it a 6. As for world, well, we know what happens. I don't think that's a plus or a minus. And I will just go back really quick and, world, believability of screenshot and story. I mean, obviously this is, real life. More or less. I mean, I don't know, but it seems perfectly believable to me. I don't have a problem giving a 10 off of this one. The only thing that could possibly bring it down is that awaiting the torch and then so many hints about what could be coming in the future. I would leave a bit more ambiguity about awaiting the torch here where you mention it. Relevancy. Yeah, it's a 10. Easy. I agree. Completeness. The main thing for this is doing the submission right, or that's the only thing for this. So, let's see. Everything's filled in. This is titled correctly enough. It's not the username you listed down here, but I know who you are, so it wasn't tough, but I'm going to have to give it a 9 for that. You don't have to put in, like, your Discord name perfectly. I just need to be able to identify you, and it's more important that everything lines up across the submission so that I know what picture is what at a glance. It's only because I knew who you were, Ian. Now I'm going to give a point for Iron Horseman character, a second point for what appears to be a custom asset. What else can I give another point for? Is that boxcar the... No, it's not. Okay. I thought this might have been the Rutland car, and that would have been fantastic. I like this coach back here. Maybe I could give it a point for that. You know what? I'll give it a point for the background stuff, including the tarp load, because you don't see that often, and I think it turned out really well. So let's grab a calculator and do some math real quick. 8 plus 8 plus 9 plus 8 plus 9 plus 6 plus 10 plus 10 plus 9 plus 3. That's an 80. That's a really good score. I think this is a pretty decent one. The sky also looks gorgeous. I don't know what you did for that, but it looks really good. Alright, so the next submission. Let's click over. Well, let's trash this one and move on to the next one. This is called Gherkin. Gherkin with quotation marks and a period. Submission titled Gherkin by Eastbound and Down 9110. Well, I would expect Eastbound and Down to put in something interesting, but Gherkin is a hell of a name. Let's see if I can find it really quick. Oh, you know what? I should be doing this in View. List. There we go. Now I can't spoil myself. Gherkin. There it is. Oh, this is cool. Oh, it's steam under wires. The rock face is really nice. I think this is another 8 for impact. I really like this. It's not what I expected at all. I didn't really know what I was expecting. I was expecting something with pickles. But Is that a 52? Yeah, it is. I think. Oh, come on, man. But in seriousness, I like the random assemblage of coaches. I can't wait to get into the story for this one. I need to know why it's called Gherkin. It doesn't really scream end of Steam, but then you realize it's Steam under wires, and you go, okay, yeah, I get it. But I have no idea what era this is even set in. We'll have to dig in and find out. Yeah, I really like this photo. Okay, we'll come back to that. I need to put it in the screenshot judging. Let's get rid of that for now. Don't need that. Gherkin. There you go. There's going to be a link to this in the description of the video, by the way. So, let's do impact and creativity and construction and composition first, because that's, well, the first 5 are just about the screenshot itself. So we'll talk about the rest later. Yeah, like I said, I think it's another 8 for impact. Oh, well, creativity has to do with the story, too, so let's read the story. Let's copy it over first. Even after the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and reunification, Steam persisted in Germany for a few years afterwards, with one such train being the Gherkin train. Der Gherkinzug. The train was a local passenger service running from Berlin-Spandau to Lübbenau in the Spey Forest.
Did you say gherkin?
Yes.
Like pickles?
No.
Oh.
A roster of steam engines was assigned for the trains, and after service ended, well, the coaches are green. That's up to you to decide. After the service ended, they were engine sold. Here we see 528177-9 leading the Gherkin train during July of 1994, a year prior to the service's withdrawal. The 81779 had been put on as the prior engine had failed before arriving at Berlin-Spandau station, with the engine taking the train on both the outward and return journey before the boiler ticket expired in November of the same year. So, these... Okay, no, a roster of steam engines was assigned for the trains. Okay. Doing late steam is pretty ballsy. Doing a 52 and expecting me to not diss it is also pretty ballsy. I like the work that went into making this historically relevant. A year prior to the service's withdrawal is close enough for the end of Steam. Let's see. Creativity. I think this is a step up just for going outside of the US. Maybe I started high, but I'm going to give that a 9. Construction. I really like this construction. Let's see if there's anything in the, in here. Put it down here as... I don't really have much to say other than I got the idea after reading the title. I wanted to do something lighter than a scrapyard scene of a steam engine waiting to get cut up. The end of Steam should be happy yet sad occasion, rather than something depressing. Oh, and as to what the name means, Gherkinzug can be translated as pickle train from German. Baby, it is actually called the pickle train. Okay, I'm going to add a bonus point for that, because Gloria will be mad if I don't. So, assuming that you built this module then, I don't know if you did or you didn't, but either way, it's well put together. The guardrail on the road is a nice touch. All these bushes, the rock formations, the catenaries, can't forget that. And the shrubbery and foliage up in the rocks is something I feel like is oft forgotten. Certainly I've made that mistake before. So, yeah, this is a pretty great little shot. As far as construction goes, I really can't see anything wrong with it. So, I guess by default it gets a 10. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say about that. I mean, someone could come by and trim the shrubs a little bit, but you never know. Construction 10. Composition. I really love the way the frame is bordered over here, and this is the only chunk of sky you get with the tuft of smoke. It's a weird spot for the tufts of smoke, but I know you can't really control that. Um, Maybe I would have shifted things over just a little. No, no, I think this is fine as is. I don't want to be starting to hand out tens like hotcakes, but this is a very well put together picture, I have to say. Um, the way the train wraps around the hill here, can't really tell how long it is. It's at a decent level. You know, the camera isn't pitched too far up or too far down. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. I guess I don't really have a problem with it. I don't have a reason to not give it a 10. So, we'll give it a 10 for composition. As for content, all these coaches look pretty nice. This first one seems a little bit older. They all are a little bit older and low poly, but you can't really tell at first glance. The engine is really nice. The engine almost makes up for it. And all the shrubberies and stuff, that is a nice touch with these things. Even if a good number of them are 2D, the trees are all speed trees. The stuff up here you can't tell one way or another, and it doesn't really matter. And the rocks, even though I know in my head that it is probably the same rock piece placed over and over again, it doesn't jump out at me as being that. And I think the fact that it's differing heights in here helps contribute to that. So, I guess I'll give it a 9 for content. Maybe that's punching above its weight, because a lot of this stuff is older stuff, but it's used very well. There's nothing about it that says, "Wow, that's poorly done." So I had to do some investigation to figure that one out. As for the story, the only part that I got tripped up on was that the prior engine had failed, because it made me think that, oh, the steam engine was special on this. But no, they did use a roster of steam engines, and you covered that. Um, I mean, I think this is pretty well put together. I'm trying to find something wrong with it, and I can't. I really like this shot. Uh, so I guess I'll just have to give it a 10. And for world, that's pretty much also a 10. I don't have an issue with the world. Oh, well, what is the difference between withdrawal and withdrawal? Okay. I guess that's a 9 for story. I guess I don't have a problem giving it a 10 then. I wouldn't have noticed that. Um, Relevancy. Yeah, that's relevant. Completeness. Let me double check. So you fill out every field. You put your thing here. This is titled Eastbound and Down. Yeah, that's enough for a 10. We'll call that a 10. There are some things I probably could give, but nothing that jumps out at me for a bonus point, so I'm going to leave this here. So, 8 plus 9 plus 10 plus 10 plus 9 plus 9 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 1. That's an 86. That's a really good score. What is it with the German things and getting really good scores? There's nothing even that complex about this, but I just couldn't find anything wrong with it. And I think in some respects, that is a really great way to have a screenshot. You know, you don't get too fancy with it. You don't get too complicated with it so that you can have things to screw up. And then I find nothing wrong with it. Maybe in the future I'll be thinking about, oh, what could you have added to this scene to make it more clear? I guess I could have thought about how this does not scream end of Steam to me at all. I know the prompt is end of Steam, and I see the wires, but that's about it. If you had something like sleek and modern next to the Steam engine, that would have been better. And maybe I should have thought about that before I gave this score, but I'm not going to go back and change it. I think you deserve an 86. At least it seems pretty good. So thank you for your submission, and thank you, Ian, for your submission as well. I didn't thank you specifically, and I'd like to be thanking everyone specifically. So here we see NYC passenger train passes local freight. I think we're getting into stuff that we would expect. Oh, the story is very short. The screenshot is not titled. Oh well, we'll find it. Hold on. Oh, I forget that it adds this thing. I've been, well, I guess I'm neglecting that. Where is it? It was this, 844 Steam Fan. Okay. Well, there's a lot of old assets here. You can see the edge of the building. Maybe if it was pivoted a little bit so you had this bracketing the frame, it would be better. I'm wondering what's going on with the boxcar here. Front of the train. I don't know if that's realistic or not. I don't know much about New York Central operations. I recognize this mogul, but this looks like it was done on a much older version of Trainz, so for that I have to give at least a little bit of props. I recognize a lot of the assets here. Also, the colors pop. That is something good I can say about it. The red pops, the orange pops, and the green pops. Everything's sort of bland in the bottom half of the photo, and I really think the camera's too close to the ground. In this case, because there's no like ground scatter or ground cover. But at least you have this, you know, yin and yang of the very old Steam and the very new Diesel. Okay, let's bring the screenshot in and start talking about stuff. By 844 Steam Fan. Let's grab this. And crop to you. Oh, it's in Trainz Mobile. That is major points, honestly, because that's more impressive. Doing stuff like this on Trainz Mobile. And I can see, yeah, it does look a little pushed in. I get it. A Baldwin 260 with a local freight is being passed by a passenger train pulled by new F7s. So, obviously, this isn't going to be rated as highly as the previous screenshots. I feel like this has come up at a really great time to remind me of, like, the good stuff I'm getting. Not to say that this is bad, because it has to be taken with the correct amount of salt. That this was done on Trainz Mobile. There's a very limited selection of assets and such. So, honestly, props to 844 Steam Fan for doing this in general. And I'm going to give a bonus point for that because I find it very impressive that you would actually attempt this. Anyway, so impact. This actually had a decent impact, but not necessarily for all too great reasons. Maybe stuff just jumps out at me, but the colors popped. There's a lot of brightness in this scene as compared to the last two, and I need to know if I'm cropping off the top of my head because I feel like I'm sitting up taller. No, I'm not. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this is, I think, maybe if we had some other bright colors, I would rate it even higher. I would easily rate it a 7, but I think I'm going to give it a 6. As for creativity, this is sort of borderline or baseline what you would expect from this. But I like that it's a little bit of something. You have a bridge, you have the freight house, you have a signaling scene, the red facing the steam locomotive. You could see that's like, you could probably get on English teachery with that, art degree, English degree with that. But as for creativity, I think I'm going to give it a 7. I'm not, I'm not fussed by anything here, but nothing really jumps out at me as like, wow, you really went out on a limb for that. Because this is, to be expected with the end of Steam sort of prompt. I do like the fact that it sticks to that prompt, honestly. I originally had a much stricter interpretation of what the prompt would mean, and eventually we opened that up, and I'm glad that we did because we're, looking down the barrel of probably some interesting submissions. But this is, you know, as much as that prompt gets. Um, and I don't really want to rate creativity lowly, even if this does seem like the go-to, because again, especially considering the circumstances on which this was created, you could definitely stoop lower than this, and I don't want to diss on people's creativity. I'd like to think that people are trying, no matter what. As for construction, Trainz Mobile limits your options a lot. Um, but like I said, there are some pieces of this scene which I think are good. Um, Setting up the bridge and trying to do some ground texturing and trying to do some background stuff. I think the construction is deserving of a 6, and I know that is a sort of lowly number here, but I can't rate too highly considering what it's up against. I apologize, because if this was just Trainz Mobile, this would be a pretty decent submission. You know what? I'll bump it up because it was made in Trainz Mobile. Composition, camera's too low, it's too pushed out. I know you had to crop it, but I would have focused more on the thing, or I would have pushed it maybe a little bit to the left so that you could get more of this freight house. The composition is a little rough on this one. I think I'll give it a 5. Maybe that's even being generous. Content, I'm also going to have to give a 6. I know things are limited. I know it's not necessarily your fault. When you go to create a screenshot like this, but it has to stack up to its contemporaries. I'm trying to find the brightest sides in this. I mean, the steam engine looks good and the diesels look good. The boxcar doesn't. Those coaches aren't bad. You just don't have a lot to pull from, and I understand that. And I wish I didn't have to judge it against these peers. It's got some stiff competition. Story. Yeah, we'll give it a 2. It's one sentence. I mean, it does what it needs to do, but it's just one sentence. The details are nice. What few there are, but you can shoot higher than that for a story. That's for sure. Anyway, world. I mean, I don't know enough about the New York Central's light steam operations. I would love to you know, uh, I would love to know more about this. I can't say much about the world, uh, and I don't know situations where these moguls would have necessarily existed with F7s. Maybe they would have, maybe they wouldn't have. I couldn't tell you. I would think the first diesels that the Central would have got their hands on would be supplanting the smaller steam like this. Um, but maybe this isn't in Central territory. I don't know. So I'm going to have to give it a 4 for world, and I feel like that's generous. Relevancy. Yeah, it's relevant to the prompt. Completeness. You did not title your screenshot properly. You did fill out everything, though. So I think that's an 8. Because it's 2 per. But yeah, I mean, I'll throw in a point here because we all know that mogul. And I think that's the best I can do. I'm sorry. But let's tally up the points now. 6 plus 7 plus 7 plus 5 plus 6 plus 2 plus 4 plus 10 plus 8 plus 2. It's a 57. It's not great, but it is still a screenshot made in Trainz mobile, and there is a lot of love that I can tell was put into this. Just the effort to make a screenshot in Trainz mobile, and then, even to go through the effort to bring it in, to crop it, everything like that. Honestly, 844, thank you for submitting something. This is great. I know it's held back by the technology of its time, but it's got heart. I really appreciate that it's in this competition. So, anyway, alright, on to the next one. And I will not, deduct points for that it was cropped. I know the screenshots have to be raw from Trainz, but this is a technological issue, etc. In case anyone was going to say anything about that. Okay, so next one. This is called Out with the Old, In with the New. I'm already wondering what this is going to be. It's Nathaniel, okay. Or who this is going to be, I should say. Okay, Out with the Old, In with the New. The screenshot is called Out with the Old, In with the New. Yeah, we'll call that close enough. Let's find it. Okay. This is sort of low on the impact scale. I mean, the yellow of the Erie, the gold of the Erie, whatever you want to call it, it jumps out at you right away. And then you see the steam lurking in the background. But that isn't so much an impact thing. I think it gives a depth to this. And we'll get to that when I talk about composition. Because there are some aspects already that I'm seeing that are good, and aspects that are bad. I would love that, the main thing that, and I say bad, I don't really mean bad, but, I wish it was just shifted a little more to the left. I wish the steam engine was a little bit more distant from the edge there, but I understand why this is the way it is. It's an artistic choice, certainly. But, I mean, I can't really say anything else bad about it. I like the camera placement. I like the assets used. Everything's all eerie all the time. That signal tower, those buildings in the background, I think peering out of there are good, for lack of a better word. And yeah, my eyes did go straight to the front of the Erie unit. Well, the Erie diesel. So I'm tempted to, I mean, maybe it should be higher, but as for impact, I'm tempted to give this like a 7. And I'm not sure why. It just didn't hit me as hard as some of the previous ones. And that does happen as we get through these. I tend to end up inadvertently adjusting my scoring based on what came before it. But I mean, I guess that is a advantage or disadvantage of entering the competition when you do. I don't know. In the mid to late 1950s, the Erie Railroad was testing newer diesel-electric units as a way to replace their aging steam locomotives. In this photograph, we see a rare sight of Erie N2 MacArthur locomotives meeting new General Electric oil electric units. These units would be test beds for all future GE products. All Erie steam would be scrapped by the late 1950s, early 1960s. Okay, so the MacArthur, that was the alternate name for a Mikado, right? During the Second World War, because Mikado was too Japanese of a name, MacArthur was also adopted as a name. So Erie N2 MacArthur locomotive, that would be U in the back. I saw this and I saw Erie and I thought, ah yes, Erie built. No, General Electric oil electric units. Interesting name for that. I'm going to assume that is, their sort of test bed name. Mid to late 1950s. I don't know when these things came about, but GE products. Interesting. You don't see a lot of early GE diesels. I mean, you have EMD and Alco and Baldwin. is EMD... No. No. Sorry. Now I want to look up the lineage of EMD and GE. Anyway, these units would be the test beds for all future GE products. All Erie steam would be scrapped by the late 1950s, early 1960s. I like the use of MacArthur. I like the units chosen, etc. As for creativity, this is pretty standard stuff, but it is not your typical railroad. And because of that, I think I want to bump it up to an 8. I did not expect to see an Erie submission. As for construction, I like all the assets here. The buildings peeking out are good. The engines, the cars, everything is pretty top-notch. I can't find anything to point at and say, hey, that's not a great asset. So I'm going to give this a 10 for construction. Composition, like I said, I wish I just had a little bit more room on the left side of the photograph. That's about it. Push the steam engine back just a little bit, and you've nailed it for me. Maybe bring the Eries a little closer to center, or the diesels a little closer to center as well, so that it really looks like they're overlapping them. Because that could have been another English teacher moment, where you have the steam in the background and then the Erie is, like, honestly about to blot it out. In this case, you can see that's going to happen, but it wouldn't be as complete or as sudden, I think. But either way, I'm going to give this a 9 for composition because, bottom line, it's very good. Content. Everything here is spot on. It's 10. Story. You could have gone a little bit more into detail with this, but the story in general, it is a relatively short piece, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing, because it lays out date, it lays out what's in the scene, it lays out what's going on. I would like a little bit more, but bottom line is I think the story is well deserving of an 8. I don't know what necessarily you could add to that, but I feel like there's room for more, you know? Even just a note about further lineage of these. I don't know, I'm just trying to think about it. I'm trying to think about why is it an 8 in my head, and it's mostly just because it's short. I mean, people have written some incredible stories for these things. Let's see. We have the thing here. Use the post-processing settings in Trainz to get the more grayed out effect. I stopped using reshade recently because it made my game lag really badly. I don't know what reshade is, but if it's anything like shaders in Minecraft, I totally understand. As far as world goes, yeah, I think the world here is just fine. That's a 10. Relevancy is definitely a 10. Completeness, you got everything filled in. That's a 10. Bonus points, because nobody tends to use MacArthur, and you didn't go with just an F unit. You went with a oil electric stuff. I think those are both worthy of style points, or of bonus points. So let's tally these up. 7 plus 8 plus 10 plus 9 plus 10 plus 8 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 2. Oops, that's an 8. Plus 2. It's an 84. Very close. I feel like I would rate this over the other one, honestly. I would rate this over this one, even though this one's beating it out by 2 points. This is just a Steam shot. This is clearly an end of Steam shot. You know? And I should have thought about that when I was rating the other one, but if that one ends up winning, just know that this one actually won. But thank you for your submission, Nathaniel. Alright, next. Submission title. Still have quite a few left. Gonna run out of voice. Okay, a pair PRR L2s sent for scrap. L2s. What? Oh, are the L2s the Are the L2s? Alright, hold on. This is by Sharknato01. I'm not familiar with you. But let's find you really quick. Where is it? What is the screenshot named? G. Well, no wonder why I couldn't find it. Oh. I see. I like how they still have engineers in the cabs. I assume that's something that's difficult to remember. I mean, I think if you take the engineer, like, out of the locomotive, it shouldn't put an engineer in the cab, but that might be baked into the model. Which, these are the L2s. That's right. They were, I believe, USRA mics the PRR got. And they called them the L2s. So, let's look at New Haven. Is that a New Haven caboose? No. That's an N&W caboose. Yeah, I recognize that boost. Okay. I like the shark nose. Not a ton of pop here. I'm gonna go with like a 5 for pop. But let's drop this in. G. And then let's bring in the story. And there's no production notes. Pure RF-16 number 2004 hauls 2 L2s to Blue Sky Coal Mine for storage and unused siding for eventual scrapping in the coming weeks. Wait a minute, Blue Sky Coal Mine. Is this on the Iron Horseman route? Or is there another Blue Sky Coal Mine I don't know about? That would have been something great for the production notes. I'm not gonna lie, it would have been great. Also, let me let the dog out. He's been in the crate for long enough. You poor thing. Go on. Okay. So, where were we? Creativity. The locomotives being hauled away is a direction I did not expect this to take. There's not a ton going on, especially if this is the Iron Horseman route. Not using the not using a scene that you've built yourself, I feel like maybe a little bit uncreative, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. Either way, I think I'm going to toss this let's see. This is built in a newer version of Trainz, and there's more to play with, so I think I'm going to have to give this a 6, even though I do really like it. It's carried by the fact that it is these engines being hauled away, but there's a lot more you could have done in just the scenery of this scene. And assuming, because this fits the MO of the coal line on the IHRR, yeah, I think I'm just going to have to give it a 6. I don't know. Especially because there isn't a lot in here. Construction, yeah, I don't know. I'm also just going to give it a 6 and move on. Even still that seems high. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 5. There just isn't a lot in this scene. You need shrubs and bushes and ground scatter and stuff. A track and trees are there, but there's not a lot going on here. Composition. Well, if I could say one good thing about this shot, it's the composition. You have, you know, your stuff front and center. Nothing is weirdly placed. Your track sort of trails off into the mist in the background. I can't really say anything bad about the composition, except the placement of these trees is a little bit weird. The way this one looks like it's coming out of the cab. I might have shifted stuff around a little bit, but also you just need more stuff back here. I'm gonna go ahead and give it an 8 for composition, and that's generous. Content. Getting L2s in is a little unusual. This is not right. I mean, the N&W caboose, I guess, could belong with PRR stuff, but I don't think you'd see that happening. And I think this is a later model N&W caboose. I don't know, but it's metal and it's a wide, what do you call it? Wide cupola. I don't know if they were used during the steam era, but I really don't think they were used during the steam era on the Pensy. So, I mean, the shark is nice, but I'm gonna have to give this a 6 for content. You just need more of it. Um, Story. Is it better than the one I gave a 2? Is my question. And my answer is yes, because it mentions a location. World. Is this the Iron Horse en route? I think it is. The more I look at this, the more that I'm pretty sure it is. So, the fact that you've got this over here, it takes me out of it. I'm going to give it a 7. Uh, and the fact that you've got no ground cover or anything like that, that 7's generous. Relevancy, yes. Completeness, no. In fact, I'm going to give a 6, because there are 2 pieces of the prompt missing. Although, understandably, the production notes are not necessary. I feel like they would have been really helpful here. Bonus points. Shark Nose and Iron Horse en route, question mark? So 5 plus 6 plus 5 plus 8 plus 6 plus 3 plus 7 plus 10 plus 6 plus 2. It's 58. Well, it's a better score than this. I'm not sure what that means, though. Anyway, on to the next one. 8 remaining. Dusk falls on Gordon. Gordon the big engine? Are we going to have a Thomas and Friends end of Steam? Okay, there's Reading here. That sounds like a no. Let's see. Dusk falls on Gordon. I'm guessing the place is called Gordon? Let's see. It doesn't seem to be named. Oh, no, it is. Dusk falls on Gordon. There it is. Oh, it's Matt. Of course it's the Reading. Ah, see? Here we see the quintessential steam engine meeting a diesel. Also, why is it framed so far to the left? Or to the right? Well, to the left. You know, the camera's to the left. But I like that this is in shade. I didn't really get the impact of this one, but it's deserving of... I like all the caboose in the background have their own little smoke plumes. And there's a T-1 back there, I think. But there's stuff going on in the background of this shot. That's nice. You like background. I just wish it was this background, because this is open as hell. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. At least you have this bracketing it. But I really wish that... I don't know what I wish. Can you check on him, please? He was in the living room, possibly by the hassock. Anyway, I don't know what to make of this. I'm not sure if it makes it better or makes it worse. I don't know. I really don't know. But as for impact... For impact, I want to be generous and give it a 7. I don't know if that's really, truly generous or not. Oh, we have both stuff here. That's good to see. I like to see that. Dusk Falls on Gordon by Miat. Come the mid-1950s, when even the anthracite-hauling Reading Company began to utilize the potential of the diesel locomotive, the Reading moved its remaining steam power, mostly large drag locomotives like the 210-2s pictured here, 280-0s, and 484s, to the small town of Gordon, Pennsylvania. Gordon was once home to a 10-track yard and large roundhouse, although at the time of this image's capture, September 1957, the roundhouse had been replaced by a 2-track brick engine house, the roundhouse being connected from trackage and used for material storage, and the turntable pit filled in. Despite the small hamlet of Gordon being a last bastion for Reading steam, it too was subject to the times moving onwards. Soon, the strong Alco, seen here, and robust Baldwin diesel engines were moving inwards forcefully and relentlessly. The engine shops slowly became outdated and disused to the new diesels, which were based further east. Nowadays, the only remainder of the Gordon complex is that brick engine house in background, which is built into a lumberyard facility. I like the taking from history also. We'll give this a 7 for impact. I like the taking from history as much as this has, and tying it into history. It's all very believable. I'm not saying that it is. When I say that, I mean someone who does not know whether something is true or not, reading this and saying, okay, yeah, that sounds like it's true. I feel like I'm reading nonfiction versus just reading the caption on a fake photo. But I digress from that. There are a couple foibles in this paragraph that we will get to when we get to it. But let's see, creativity. I'm realizing that in the future I can do this as a voiceover track and then just edit in the screenshots themselves. And I'm not sure if that would be easier or not. Maybe I'll remember that next time we do this. So creativity, let's look at the screenshot again. I like that there's stuff going on in the background. I like that there is varied terrain. You can see hills in the distance. You can see plains off to the left, which isn't typical. You don't typically see wide open spaces. People love to fill things in with trees. I'm one of those people. And you have a Reading engine that is not a T-1. And you have a diesel that is not an F7, although it is an FA. So there is some creativity here, despite it being your typical end of Steam screenshot. So I think with everything that's going on, it bumps it up to an 8, and I'll give it an 8. For construction, I can see nothing wrong with the construction. In fact, the ground scatter and everything is pretty darn good. Yeah, I mean, everything that's in the foreground is well done, and everything that's in the background is too far away for me to know if it's weird or not. This does look like just houses in the distance, and I don't know if it looks like houses in the distance because it is because it's a bunch of houses smashed together, or it's because it's a proper layout of a town. The world may never know. Either way, I think it's well put together. And I can't find anything wrong with it, so I'm going to give it a 10. Composition, I don't know. I'm thinking of just giving it a 9 and moving on. There are some weird things about this. Because I think we need more focus on the diesel side of things, and we need less focus on the fact that this 210-2 is pulling a pretty substantial line of coal cars. It'd be kind of nice, yeah, if the scene was shifted so that this went out of scene. Maybe you'd never know. But I don't know if that'd be better or not. I don't know. I'm going to give it an 8 and call it a day. Content. Everything here looks good. I know this FA is old, so I'm giving it a 9. But that isn't really your fault, now is it? Even still, it doesn't look half bad. Yeah. Lafayette. Story. Story is pretty good. Okay, let's get into the story for a second. The foibles in the story. You have the roundhouse here, and then the roundhouse. You could just say it. There are a lot of side effects. You could say, although by 1956, the time of this image's capture, instead of doing the parenthetical, people love to do parentheticals, and it really messes with the flow of things most of the time. Except pictured here, I feel like all of these should be removed or adapted in some way. Either way, it's fairly well put together. moving inwards forcefully and relentlessly, bouncing a bow wow. The engine shop slowly became outdated. Diesel base further east. I don't know. It feels like a little bit the way that's phrased, um, while being a nice thing to cover. I'm not sure is great. Uh, so I'll give it a 7. World, I'm gonna give it a 10. Relevancy, 10. Completeness. Oh, you know what? I didn't pull this down. We need to talk about this. Everything in this picture, aside from the F1A diesel, was made by me. The Reading K1SA is a custom kit bash, and the hoppers were reskin work. The entirety of Gordon's yards are constant WOP, which is the reason for the relatively unfinished look of the scenery. Really, it looks very finished to me. I'm gonna be honest. I did not peg it as unfinished at all. Probably put 5 or 6 hours into the town. Barely touched the actual town yet. Kit bash and reskin the Gordon engine house to be more accurate. Sudden jointed rails, Reading and Northern route. So much of that route is unscenic land waiting to be used, which Gordon was, to get the track layout. Found a very old eBay listing of track blueprints of Gordon. Parts that couldn't see, I inferred. Okay, well, damn. Okay, so custom assets. That's a lot of custom assets. And this being built on an existing like project, I'm willing to rack up the bonus points for that. I really think it's cool. Completeness, by the way, complete. I'm pretty sure. Let's just double check this. Yes. And despite everything, I really like the planes. I see the T1 in the distance, T-1 in the distance. That's fine. I'm gonna give it another one for the planes, and let's rack up the total here. Definitely most bonus points. I like this shot. 7 plus 8 plus 10 plus 8 plus 9 plus 7 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 5. That's at 84. Nice job, Matt. And thank you for your submission. I'm blown away by the effort that was put into that. Okay. He's got his bouncy bone. This is just called The End. It is by Guy the Wise. Okay. Let's see here. The End by Guy the Wise. Oops. Open this. Ooh, spooky. Oh, it's gory and defeated stuff. Hey, did Matt help you with this? This is End of Steam Doom. Also, I see 1187 over there. Suck it, Camelback. Alright. Where's Lafayette? I'm kidding. Anyway. I'm just soaking this in. This is really something. And it's taken from the top of a tender. Yeah, alright. So, despite there being not a lot of contrast here, I'm going to give this an 8 for impact. I really do really like it. Let's drop it in here. At least we got the obligatory very depressing screenshot in here. Ooh. And this seems like similar to the one before. Are machines alive? Do they have souls? Of course not. And yet, there's an unmistakable feeling of sadness when one of our metal companions meets its end. They serve us, and we depend on them. And it is this relationship that creates an inexplicable bond. The scrapyard is a place where those have been deemed worthless come to live out their final days. Age and size aren't of concern here, only how much money the corpses will make. As our older companions sit aside each other, trying to revel in well-deserved peace, the younger undertaker jeeringly glugs at them, yeah. The shredded remains of their fallen friends are ferried out as fresh bodies are shoved onto the cutting floor. No hope can be found here for the damned, just the end. Okay. I like that. I really like that. the piles of scrap metal, everything that's put together. This scene is pretty great, despite being the stereotypical scrapyard scene. It is very well done, I think. You've got your cranes overhead, you have your undertaker in the background, which is not typical. I'd like to make that point. Uh, I would think you just have the derelict engines. But anyway, I'm actually going to give it a 9 for creativity. I really like this shot. Construction. I closed out the thing again. I didn't mean to. Actually, I'm going to knock 1 point off because the title is a little uninspired. But what can you do? It's the end. I like the trees in the background. I'm not sure how they help, or if they help. I would have gone with dead trees, maybe. That could have helped you. I would have set the thing to winter, so you would have had dead trees. Track looks appropriately rusty, but not overgrown. But yeah, for construction, I'll give a 9. For composition, I really like how you can read into the scene. Although this building in the back is a little bit... I mean, it does do a good job at making a blocker so that your sight lines aren't too long into the background of this, so you didn't have to worry about what all is in the background. Composition. I kind of wish it was pushed just a little bit forward and you didn't have to worry about this. This is the thing. I'm not sure if it's a pro or a con. I don't know how I would like it without it, but I don't love it. I mean, you can't really do anything about that, but it is a bit of a detractor. Speaking of which, let's grab the... Oh, this is quite a lot of stuff. Okay, let's talk about this first. My justification for the screenshot is to view the end of Steam to include not just the withdrawal of Steam, but also the aftermath, or what happens after withdrawal. It's not exactly like they were withdrawn, that's that. What happens after withdrawal? They don't just sit and collect rust, therefore end of Steam should include the mass scrapping of countless locomotives. I agree. Where withdrawal is the end of active service, scrapping is the death of the locomotive, a final end, if you will. Thankfully, the choice of a scrapyard meant I can get away with just the single baseboard this entire scene is set on. That's cool. I was therefore able to cram some detail without sacrificing performance. The railed vehicles laid out before you are a jointed rail club car, a singular... something from the jointed rail club car, an SW1500, towing a singular 50-foot scrap gon. The two riding courses are XCN, DB and EV, G16A 13 Lucky, and A4B 1187 K&L Trainz. The tender of Ben Neal's G&D 40. Oh, okay, that is Ben Neal. If you look close enough, Lucky and 1187 rolled a bit. Yes. Camera sat atop the tender of the US Array mic. Rusted passenger cars is a rusted generic heavyweight coach, courtesy of Coda 260, a private asset. Atop it, a Visitrack spline. Speaking of the scrap heap that was made with scrap pile assets and the terrain tool to give it all depth, that's smart. I refuse to raise and lower each individual asset. That takes more time and effort for the same effect. Grass and turf effects. Along with two different environmental textures, and the hoist in the background is Ben Dorsey, while the building is Kit Bash from Dave Snow Splines. I knew I recognized that door. Groundwork along the visible usable rails has been pushed and pulled slowly to dig the rails into the ground and in different spots. Trees are STRRM. Slight rain is there to add the fog some and make the scene a bit more grim. Post-processing is disabled. It usually kills my GPU. This is really good for post-processing being disabled, I'm going to be honest. Don't mind that. It's somebody going to Iron Horse and Radio. The fog effect without doing the post-processing settings. That was clever. Where were we on this? Composition. Yeah, I'll give it a 9. That's right. Content. I mean, hearing everything is great. I don't love that there's payware um, and private content in there, but it's more than made up for by the fact that this is these two are messed up a bit, um, and a lot of the other stuff is pretty good. So I'll give it the 10 that it deserves. Story good, but there are some things in here that I feel like you needed to more thoroughly go with a vibe. Um, the sadness, the thing that gets me is the revel in well-deserved peace, which I understand why it belongs here, but it doesn't jive with the rest of the sort of damned and doomed mood. I'm getting pings. Oh. Anyway. Nope, here can be found for the dam, just the end. Story. Yeah. I'll give it an 8. It's pretty good. World. Yeah, I mean it seems real enough. It doesn't really it isn't really connected in the story very much, but I'll give it a 9 for world because it seems whole anyway. Um Relevancy, yeah, that's 10. Completeness, I believe this was a 10. Yes. Bonus points for messing up a camelback, you get a point from me. Um, Otherwise, I don't know if there's anything here that is super above and beyond. A lot of the stuff I feel like I gave decent credit for. There's nothing else that jumps out at me as being uniquely good here. Maybe the shot being from the top of the tender. Yeah, that's fair. I'll give that. All right, let's see where we stand on this. 8 plus 8 plus 9 plus 9 plus 10 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10 plus 2. Oh, sorry. Plus 10. It's 83. Let me check that again. 8 plus 8 plus 9 plus 9 plus 10 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10 plus 10. It's an 83. 83. You definitely passed. Thank you for your submission. Thank you for submission. Play nice. The Dynamo. Who's this by? Bender is great. Okay. Let's see where we're at. The Dynamo. Dynamo from Bender. Oh. Oh man, I didn't get the full impact of that. Boom. Oh, we're doing more. Here we see the redding once again. Why are they all tipped to tail? Why? Oh my god. But this is a good impact one. It might not be flashy and explosive, but the fact that the boiler's up in your face just made me go, whoa, even when it was the smaller version of the picture. I'm going to give this a 9. I am. I know that is, maybe a lot for me to give for this, but I'm going to give this a 9. What's going on over there? Is that a little baby steam engine? Anyway. Alright, so here's our redding. I'm just looking this scene over a little bit more. Alright. You guys can have some time to soak that in. Let's talk about let's do this. Oh, wow, it's a big one, that's right. June 1956. Rainy June. The rain pours down, even if just a drizzle, and for a moment we pause. We remember Rainy June by one noise above all. The Dynamo. 14 minutes behind schedule, in need of repairs, barely 10 years old, and the dynamo whines. On the Peabody branch of the Philadelphia and Reading, this noise was common. In 1956, most all steam on the Reading ceased. It's a wonder this branch carried on with large mainline power, a speedy locomotive reduced to marshalling empty hoppers. This does not stop the rain, nor does it stop the dynamo whining proudly. Over minutes a faint rumble becomes a roar, that of a dragon which hath slain the supposed heroes of our tales. Four shining and grimy Alco FA1s thunder through on the main with the fast merchandise west. 9 years ago, this would have been the exact job this powerful locomotive would handle. No more, nay, a word was said. Still, the dynamo whines. As the merchandise passes, a boy takes a picture. It may not be an important picture, the train may not even be the focus of the photo, but it captures the beginning of a new era for the peoples of Parker, the economic hardships to come, and the bright future ahead. He fails to capture the passing of this steam locomotive, number and class irrelevant, as it suffers. Every breath, stroke of cylinder, revolution of wheel, ring of bell could be its last. Then silence. The dynamo whines no more. No dynamo shall whine again in this valley. On any rainy June, never again from this iron horse. Now the rumble turns into a roar of a ferocious dragon which hath slain the heroes of our tales. Tales they are now, as these roars soon turn to those of a lion. It grows weak, returns to a rumble. Little do the people of Parker, on this Reading branch of Peabody, know that one day this rumble may never come again. Wow, that is some good free verse poetry. And I'm not a poetry guy. I'm not one for poetry. I do think that it could be a little bit more connected. The dynamo doesn't really seem to have much effect. It's just something that's carried through the poem. Dynamo whines proudly. The rain pours down even if just a drizzle. That's a little bit of an oxymoron. But I like it, of course. The duplication of dragon, which has slain the supposed heroes. I don't know how that works. It seemed like a little bit of a strange return. And also, is a dragon more powerful than a lion, or the other way around? Or less powerful than a lion? What are you doing? What are you doing? I wish you had nailed on this job, this was the locomotive, or this was the job that this locomotive would have handled, now being handled by the diesels. I wish that had come earlier. Perhaps. I don't know, it feels disconnected from the marshalling empty hoppers because it's a paragraph away. I don't know. I really don't know what to think about this, but I know it is good. I know it is good, and poetry doesn't need to conform by the rules of writing fiction to which I am accustomed. I am a poor poetry reviewer, I will admit that. But at the end of the day, I feel like you've got a lot of good phrases and thoughts here that need to be put together into a whole. That are together in a whole. Why are these tip to tail? Either way, there's something about it that is good, and there's something about it that just makes me go, It feels like more pieces than a whole. I mean, I guess that's poetry for you in some cases. But either way, I mean, that's going to help your creativity score, I think. And I think I'm going to give it a 9 for that. I like how the locomotive, it doesn't matter what the number or class it is. No, it just is being washed away in the rain. As for construction, I need to check on the... Here we go. Quick and dirty, I wanted to enter, but I was really out of ideas. Then it hit me, why not just make it up? We take Coal Country, the Trainz FA1, the K and LT-1, and put them all in one space. I don't think this is my best work, nor do I think it's even that great or impactful, but I wanted to see what a simple picture could do. I did reskin the bar with the writing font, I noticed that. And the camera position is the only work I've done. I had most fun writing the story, which I do think is some of my best work. Enjoy. It is definitely something. I have a lot to say about it. I think, you know, your word choice and arrangement in some cases could be adjusted, but the bottom line is, it is a good piece that fits the thing well. I'm gonna give it a 7 for construction because you didn't really do any construction. Even still, the route is there, and I don't feel like just pulling the rug out from somebody because they use an existing route. At least you admit it. Composition. So, bottom line is, I don't love the composition, but because of the story, because the story is the way it is, it belongs, it fits. Now, the only thing that I would say is I wish it was lifted higher up a little bit, because I get the feeling this is being taken from a bridge, but I don't know how a cameraman would be this low unless you're hanging the camera down on a pole. Also, I don't know what's going on in the background here. I really hoped this would be explained to me, but I don't know what this is. Looks like just another steam engine hanging out. Either way, solid stuff. I've run out of things to say. I'm also sick, so I apologize if my words are a little bit, you know, mismatched. But composition, I think I'm going to give an 8. Content. I'm gonna knock off 1 for those things. I'm sorry we don't have better FAs. I just, you know. Story. Maybe I'm being too nice, but I'm gonna give a 9 because I don't know how to judge poetry. And there's a lot of it here. Yeah, I feel like you need to smooth out your metaphors a little bit more. That also is true. It's very much a, wow, I'm having so many ideas and I want to put them on the page, and I understand that. I totally understand that, and I understand that when you're putting in this submission, there's sort of this drive to like, okay, I filled it out, boom, let me submit. But it might be worth, for some of these submissions, just taking a moment and going over it again, and reading it aloud to yourself, and thinking about what you're saying where, and I don't know. I feel like this thing has a high ceiling that, despite this being where it is, you're nowhere close to that ceiling. You could go up from here. That's for sure. And that's a good thing. That is not me saying that you're low. That is me saying that you have a lot of room, a lot of not room for improvement. No. Yeah, here I go mixing my words again. You have potential. What I'm trying to say is, not everybody has the chops for poetry, and it looks like you have the chops for poetry. So keep toying with it, and you'll get somewhere real good. World, I'll give it a 9. For 2 reasons. 1, shoving through a bobber. Goodbye, bobber. 2, why are they tip to tail? Relevancy, that's a 10. Completeness, that's a 10. Pretty sure. Yeah. And bonus points for the T-1. And for reskinning something, I guess. Total, let's see. 9 plus 9 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 9 plus 10 plus 10 plus 9. I skipped a 9, didn't I? Plus 2? Yeah, hold on. 9 plus 9 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 10 plus 10 plus 2. Yeah, it's an 82. Good job. Having the balls to do poetry carried you pretty far. Appreciate the submission. The end of an era in Gunnison County. Ooh, last stock train. I just saw that. This is Milky. Okay, let's Let's blow it up on the big screen first. Oh god, it's Bumblebee. My eyes actually went to the photographer. He's the brightest one here. And yes, Bumblebee absolutely pops, but everything else in this photo is so bright, and he's the brightest thing here. Like, wow. I think I'll give this an 8, though. I think I will. I feel like maybe that is being generous, and I know I keep saying that, but I'll give it an 8 for sure. Um, so let's talk about the story here. I'm running out of voice, also. In 1955, the Denver Rail Grand Western ran one last stock train to Saponara on the Black Canyon Line, using the only locomotive left for the run, the famous Class C16 number 268. Several notable Colorado Rail fans showed up to document the final run, including Colorado Railroad Museum founder Bob Richardson. Local school children were let out of school to watch the 268 hard at work one last time. At this time, trains based out of Gunnison used an outfit car instead of a caboose, as there were no Gunnison-based cabooses anymore. I believe that is supposed to be any more. 268 earned it its unique Bumblebee scheme and fame during the 1949 World's Fair. The train had a hard time with getting traction due to all the cow manure on the rails. Just months after this photo, railroading in the Gunnison County would end when 268 pulled up the rails with a scrap train, ending 73 years of rail service for good. Today, everything in this photo is underwater in the Blue Mesa Reservoir. The town of Saponara was moved to a higher elevation and is still a small town. Today, 268 survives at the Gunnison Pioneer Museum in Gunnison, still Bumblebee as ever. A true happy ending for a locomotive that called Gunnison home and the oldest locomotive left on TNRGW. As long as she's above water, I'm sure she's going to be happy. Because, bees can't fly in rain. But this is a great little story. I'm once again going to assume its truthiness. Let me talk about this, because this already seems cool. I used a dam to create the route and removed the Blue Mesa Reservoir by hand to return the town to about how it was when the railroad was there and before the reservoir was built in the 60s that flooded the area. To do this, I looked at historical topographic data to find elevation levels of town and hillsides. Milky, that's nuts! Okay. I'm going to just throw a 10 for construction already, because that's crazy. And I'm going to give a bonus point for that also. Several others, okay, let's talk about creativity. Narrow gauge is a point. Having the cameraman in is a point, although I don't think that camera is prototypical. Is this your outfit car in the background? I think so. Yeah, this is really something. There's nothing super crazy standout, but I think it is well deserving of an 8 for creativity. Because it's not just the end of Steam, it is the last run on this railroad. Composition is pretty solid. I wish that this guy wasn't lit up so much, but he's an older model. You can't really change that. I don't know what's going on with these lines here. Yeah, this is more of a photo of rail fans than anything. I think I'm going to give it a 9 for composition. Just the way the guy being there throws me off, and just the angle of it with him being so present. I don't know. There's something iffy about it. And yet I recognize that it's good. Like, I like this shot of this person taking a shot of this locomotive. I just wish there was more room on the left of him, maybe. And maybe I'm too obsessed with centering everything, but I do kind of wish this was pulled out just a little bit more. Content. I mean, everything here is good. Now, this is an older model, but it checks out. I mean, this is probably... what are you going to do? I'll give it a 9 for content. Although, maybe you could have done something better with the ground cover. I don't know. Story. There are some typos in there. But other than that, it's fine. Um, it's got all the history you need. It's long enough. Um, there are just a couple of weird things. You know, the caboose is anyone, but you know, the other thing is today, and then you say today again. You probably could have just nixed that second today. Either way, it's definitely a 10 for world. Relevancy is a 10. Completeness, I'm pretty sure the prompt was completed properly. Also a 10. Total. Let's tally them up. 8 plus 8 plus 10 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 10 plus 10 plus 1. 84. Okay. Maybe I could have found some bonus. I don't know. I really don't know. There's not a lot in this photo. That's another thing. There's not a lot in this screenshot. But the way you built the thing is definitely a bonus point. Also, wait, did I give it a... Yeah, I gave it a 10 for world too, and I was gonna nix one because of the camera being wildly out of spec, but it's not a big deal. All right, 4 left. One of these is someone that I saw. Yeah, okay, here we go. This one we should get through pretty quickly, I think. Submission title: Summoning Satan. What is the lol wow in you? All right, well that's not great. What is this? This is not End of Steam. It certainly has an impact. I'll give it that. For the meme, I'll give it a 10 for impact. I accidentally saw it earlier because I was checking to see if it was a real submission or not. Creativity. Hold on. We were in an official Trainz VC and then this happened. Is the statement given by the illegal. Made for TRS 2006 using TACS. Oh, it's a Roblox character, isn't it? I mean, that's neat that there was a self-created asset, but I mean, I'm just gonna nail down the ones that that jump out at me here. Obviously, it has nothing to do with the prompt, so relevancy 0. There's no world here. The story is a 1. Content, there's not any good content here. I'm going to give it a 2. Composition, you can see the edge of the tile. The window's still open. Also, do I rate stuff 0 or do I only rate stuff 1? What does it say at the beginning here? It doesn't say. I'm going to say I can only rate stuff 1 to 10. I can't give a 0. So your minimum score is like a 10, I guess. But creativity, no, I'll give it like a 3. Construction, 2. Composition, 2. Completeness. Let's just double check. It's mostly complete, but the thing is wrong. So let's give that an 8. So let's tally this one up. 10 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 8 plus 1. Wow, a 31. Good job. There's always got to be one meme inside. Hi, my love. Can I help you? Are you gonna sneeze on me?
No, I'm not trying to.
You're not trying to, but you will?
No.
I just realized I needed to space these guys out a little bit. We've had quite a few submissions. I just don't want these to be broken in half. Yeah, there we go. Okay, back to the bottom. Oh, sorry, not to the bottom. We've got, what, 3 left? 2 left? I miscounted, didn't I? Delete that. He's right behind me, isn't he? This is quite a title. This is by Ryan, Empire Builder. Alright, so I'm going to assume that Ryan knows what he's doing, and I'm going to... Yes, there we go. I love it. I love that. Okay, so your eye definitely jumps to that. That is like an 8. And then the skyline and everything. Yeah, no, this is easily... It's not an instant... Oh, I see the ELO units also. It's not an instant bam, but it is like a... Oh, look at this screenshot. Whoa. So, I love how this is like the opposite of the buffers that I make in Railroads Online. If you get too close to the edge, you're sliding. You're going down. He's right behind me, isn't he? Welcome to the back rooms. Okay. Okay, I need the story here. We need the story here. An overcast day sets the scene at the 23rd Street Roundhouse. Maybe April with a hint of March. Amtrak's debatably trusty SDP-40F sinks on a sinking spur. Oh, so that is on purpose. While a new foe lurks on the turntable. F40PH is its moniker, and they're a smash hit, it seems. Train by train, railroad by railroad, F40PH sweeps back the SDP-40F to the derelict roundhouse tracks. The SDP-40F won't be going down without a fight, however. An Amtrak service snakes its way around the roundhouse, with 2 of them on point, and a leased Gilson Eastern 10-6 sleeper following behind the slumber coach. On the elevated main line, a Penn Central freight accelerates away from the scene of the crime. A murder, if you will. With the introduction of the F40PH, many have yet to realize that steam heat will disappear off the face of American passenger trains, and with that, countless numbers of engines and coaches will become obsolete, or including the SDP-40F will become obsolete if they don't abide by the new ways of life. Steam heating is taking its exit, with a bloody nose and sleepers to follow. I really like that interpretation. Real quick, I'm going to put down Relevancy 10 and World 10. Actually, we'll come back to the World score in a bit. But, toss that in there. He's right behind me, isn't he? And let me just double check, because we have 2 left, and I only copied this once. So, before I forget, before we move on to the next one, there we go. So, I noticed all the interesting stuff here, and impact, yeah, I'll toss it an 8. Creativity, I like all the random stuff thrown in, but that's more for bonus points. Creativity, this takes it in a direction, in a new direction. And I am very tempted to grant it a 10. Because it turns the whole thing on its head. We're not losing a steam engine, we're losing a diesel engine. We're losing steam heating. And that's something that I know it was talked about, but I completely forgot. As far as construction goes, let's get into this. Everything here can be replicated, no private or unreleased assets. I custom built the module featured as well as the skinned slumber coach and the Gilson Eastern 10-6. I will gladly make more G&E stuff if you like the look of this one. Now I realize why you asked me. SDP-40Fs are from Track29Trainz.com and the F40PH is from JR. Phase 1, or yes, Phase 2 F40PH. I see the Amtrak train in the background, and the Gilson Eastern slumber coach is this one, presumably. I can't read what it says. Oh, wait. Sorry, it's this. Oh, God. I was hoping it wasn't this one. But I like this scene. Welcome to the back rooms.
Jesus Christ.
So, it does a little bit. I mean, it looks like downtown many cities, really. I don't know specifically where this is, but...
You still want Calzone?
I think so, yes. So this is taking it in a totally different direction. And yeah, I love the construction. Um, the sinking spur is fair. I don't know what this thing is. Okay. Um, oh, my wallet? Probably. Might be in my pants. Pants are somewhere. Might be in the bedroom. Um, I don't like how I can't see streets in between these buildings. I don't know if that's because they're smashed together, but I also don't know how realistic this cityscape is or where it's from. Um, I think I'm going to. Something about the cityscape is getting me. I don't know what it is. I feel like the buildings need to be spaced out more. But I'll give it a 9 for construction. For composition, I think this is well deserving of a 10. This guy, there's enough space. Okay, this one it's far enough from the left. Um, I do wish this guy was pulled forward just a hair more, and kind of wish this bush wasn't there, or this was pulled back so you could see that these are SDP-40Fs because I couldn't tell. I can't even. I don't even know if they are. Are they? Are they F40s or are they? What did it say? Yeah, 2 of them on point. Yeah, no, I cannot tell. I cannot tell. Um, Maybe that's just me being a dummy, but I think if you'd moved this like over here or even over here in front of this, but it's broken up well. I'm gonna give it a 10, but know that there are other options that could have made it better. I think, or that maybe not made it better, but shown me the things that you described to me. I don't think the actual composition might have been better for it though. So anyway, content. Everything in here can be replicated. Everything here is great. I know this is an older model, but it doesn't look half bad. Um, some of these are older. This one in the background. These older models with the flat windows. I don't know. Oh man, I think I'm gonna have to. I think I'm gonna have to. Medium's fine. Sorry. Hmm. I know that in the world of making passenger trains in 20 in Trainz, the coaching stock is all reskins of relatively old, a lot of reskins of relatively old bodies, models, and that is cool, but it does sort of detract from it a little bit. And I'm only knocking off 1 point because I don't. Those things are definitely not front and center. Um, I can't really tell that they're old. I just know that they're old, and yeah, it's it's good to see that it's all stuff that you can pick up on your own. Story. The story I like a lot. If I like the trainer, blah blah. Murder, if you will. Yeah, I'll give it a 9 for story. I think some of it is a little bit. Uh, I don't know. It is great. Hmm. So it's 2 of them on point. I think the only issue is just this being a little clumsy because you have to throw in the thing about the Gilson Eastern. I might have dropped this and just put it in the notes, and that probably would have saved you a point. Um, World. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's the deal. This is a perfectly wonderful real-life scenario, except this, and this, and this. And also this, I guess. So it takes me out of it a little bit. It's funny, but it tells me that yes, this is a screenshot and it's using things that are not real life. This isn't and wasn't real life. I mean, it is, the premise is, but otherwise is not. Either way, okay.
Here, I'll put it in the bedroom.
Thank you.
I don't know why I brought it in here.
Because I usually am wearing jeans with pockets. So for completeness, this was done completely. That's fine. For a bonus point, one for the Gilson Eastern, one for the thing to compensate for the lost point. One for just being above and beyond and praising our Lord of 40pH. I would like to give one for the backroom sign, but it's just one weird little thing. I don't know, I think 3 bonus points on this is... I don't know. If it said our Lord, well, extra point because there's an F40pH. I mean, obviously it's about that, but it's not hidden in there. So anyway, 8 plus 10 plus 9 plus 10 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 10 plus 10 plus 4. That's an 88. This is winning. Nice. Okay, we have what? 2 left. Yes, we do. Facing the future, not in a good way. Alright, I already like this. I like the sound of this. This was by Starlight Alchemist, Brian. Hey, Brian. Brian. Facing the future, not in a good way. I'm hoping that he did it right. Maybe not. Oh, there it is. Trainz 4460. Yeah. Close, but no cigar. What is going on here? I like the shot. I like the night shot. It's cool. Why is...
I may not be judging, but I want to see.
Why is the mogul pulling streamliner cars and an aux tender? Oh man, there's some weird stuff going on here. I love you. Okay, thank you. So, let's dig into this photo a little bit. This is presumably a main line. I see a road in the background and like a substation in the background. That's cool. Power lines. Older model stuff. The mogul is here again. Is that a... Yeah, it's a mogul. You've got an SW1500 or some such, or SW or NW, you know, a switcher out on the main here. I need to know the story before I can judge it more. So let's drop that in there, and let us go to the story. Oh, this is for his fictional. Okay. Okay. Well, that makes it some of the weirdness. Ah! Okay. In 1961, the last revenue steam-powered mainline train on the Madison, Independence, Denver, and Western made its triumphant run. Despite this, several small and isolated branches continued to run steam into the mid-60s, mostly out of the public eye. This was all found out when, in 1969, the MIDW announced a proper farewell to steam tour, with multiple runs done by both the branch line stragglers still on the official roster and by preserved locomotives that worked on the line in their heyday. Unfortunately, on the evening... are they on the same train? Yeah, okay. Unfortunately, on the evening of May 17th, 1970, it's always bad when they say a date, the entire program nearly ended in disaster. Josh Weldorn and Ace McIntosh, both 34-year veterans of the railway, had been arranging a long-distance passenger consist in Davis Yard, just northeast of Denver, Colorado. As they went to add the run-through Penn Central-owned mail and express cars, the brakes on their SW1 suddenly failed, and they found themselves partially on the main line. Had it not been for the quick thinking of McIntosh to throw the little switcher into reverse, rather than apply the emergency brake, the oncoming excursion train, led by Derrick's Lumber Company 460, oh, it's a 460, I couldn't see the second trailer wheel, or the second set of leading wheels, rather. 360 would have careened straight into them. Alright, let's grab the production notes. I see that Ian lent a hand. The screenshot turned out far better than I had been expecting, despite having to rush with production a slight bit. The map is a personally customized Steam Age version of Dotson Junction, which I had originally made in 3-foot gauge, then converted to standard for this version. The scene is right next to the roundhouse and workshops at the far end of the yard leads. Okay, so they're not out on the main in the middle of nowhere. While I had planned on making custom MIDW skins for the SW1 and several of the coaches, I ended up having to improvise instead. At the very least, the 360 is my own reskin. Coaches are from multiple sources, but most come from Conrail Fan 76. So, confusion. If this was a Derrick's Lumber Company engine, it seems odd that it is also a Madison Independence Denver Western. I might have not included this detail because that sort of creates a lot of questions. I do like the mainline 460 running with lightweight coaches and also the auxiliary tender that went with it. But as for impact, the thing is, I think it's a decent 7. It would be higher if I could tell they were on the same track. I currently cannot tell. It looks like they're on here and he's on here. If it was, it looks like they're just passing or he's waiting for him. It doesn't look like there's about to be an accident. I feel like you're gonna have to communicate that better in the thing. Sort of with the BR-52 shot. I shouldn't necessarily have to be relying on the descriptions to sort these details out. But even still, it's a good shot nevertheless. It is just strange because it feels like you're on a main line and these trains are passing each other when that's not really what's happening. There's a lot of weirdness going on in the shot, which is explained in the story though. Anyway, for creativity, a little engine on a big train, a switcher running out. That's more of story creativity, but I do think that a farewell to Steam Excursion, we haven't really had that yet, I think. Everything else has been, you know, last runs of Steam's and revenue service. I'm going to give it an 8. I mean, I do feel like there's a lot of stuff here that you can go, oh, you know, this is interesting and curious. At least you thought to add an Oxy, you know. I would have stuck with that they only had stragglers, and that's why this little engine is running their farewell to Steam Excursions. It might have made for a better story that they pushed this little engine into service, sort of across their network, which I'm going to bring up in World, I think. As for construction, I mean, things here are constructed well enough. I can see that there's crossbucks and guide rail and poles, etc. You have all the details, all the fixing. You could use some grass over here, though. This side is a little bit barren. Otherwise, yeah, it just seems like there's a lot of this that isn't much. The foreground being a little bit plain. I think I'm going to give it a 9, though. I will be generous there. Composition. Composition's good. Honestly, not much bad to say about it. Wish the camera was a little bit higher so I could see what's going on, though. Even despite the fact that it's a night shot, everything you need to see is illuminated well. Yes, the shadows on this are weird, but that is a Trainz problem. And well, I mean, no, they're not weird because this also has a headlight. What am I saying? Um, what's this? Oh, thanks. What do we need this for?
Oh, I was mobile. Say hi to Gram Gram.
Hi to Gram Gram.
How you feeling?
I'm all right. I'm in the middle of a stream though.
I know.
uh, well, in the middle of a pre-recorded video that will not be edited. Anyway, so content. I think. Yeah, I think a 9 for content is. You know what? You could have got better coaches. I know. I know this. I know what I was just saying about coaching stock, but you could have picked anything for these. Anything, and these are old coaches. I'm pretty sure. So, is it just the fact that coaches are relatively simple? That's why we don't get good ones. But this looks like the old ATSF stuff, like the really old stuff. I know it probably isn't. I'll give it a 9. Call it a day. Give it a 9. Story. I like the story. There are a few loose ends. I would have kept the. I would have kept the idea that they just had little locomotives left over. Because right now this makes it seem like you have stragglers that worked on the line, like big engines that were retired and then brought back. So, anyway, yeah, I'm gonna give that a 8. Call it a day. World. Again, we'll come back to that. Actually, yeah. Again, we will come back to that. It does seem. I mean, 61 is late, and 61 is late for a railroad like this, especially to have a number of smaller engines on the roster. Those, unless there's really good infrastructural reasons, they would have been supplanted by road switchers almost immediately. I know backwards branch lines can be a bastion, but it's usually because they're isolated companies and not because they are just physically isolated. So, yeah, I think I am going to give an 8 for World, because it just seems like there are some things that seem a little bit unusual. I feel like if you tightened up the story you're trying to tell and sort of brought it a little bit more in line with typical histories, I understand, writing your own fictional is grounds for you to do whatever the hell you want, but it seems a little unusual just in terms of the progression of real-life railroading. But then again, maybe then I could understand why it was X lumber company, whatever. It needs to be, I feel like it needs to be explained a little more. Anyway, relevancy to the plot. Yeah, go ahead. Completeness. I think that's a 10. Wait a minute. You didn't put your username in the thing, so that's an 8. Bonus. I'll give a bonus for the Oxy and for the almost accident story, because that's unusual. It's not just about the end of steam. There's something else going on. Hold on. 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 8 plus 8 plus 10 plus 8 plus 2. So 78. Still decent. I'm just going to double check that 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 8 plus 8 plus 10 plus 8 plus 2. Yeah, okay. Okay, I got it. Alright. Last but not least, last curtain call. Good timing. A good submission title for our last submission. I don't know if this is the last one that was submitted or the first one. I don't know what order they go in. It's KS1. Hey, Braden. By KS1 Productions. And the last thing I saw it in here, it isn't titled properly, unfortunately. That's a lot of engines. Oh my god. There's a lot going on in this one. So all I can say is just whoa at this point. I'm going to need a minute to take that in. Well, let's talk about the, there we go. July 28th, 1959. In only about a couple hours, only steam locomotive owned by the railroad will be left on the roster, and by the end of tomorrow there will be none left. I think it would be only one. The site before us is the last time that operation steam owned by the railroad will be well in steam. The last two yard switchers only have 3 hours before running out of flue time. With 20 steam engines retired that day, many are still letting off steam in preparation for the cutting torch. The logging mallet up in front was brought down from its old home and can be seen is being started on. The only steam owned by the railroad that will see operation on the road one more day is the number 88. Center right, a 10-wheeler is being ready for the farewell to steam trip tomorrow. In the background can be seen the only steam that will run these rail after tomorrow, G&D 40, a Mikado who ran the interchange freight between the G&D and here. 40 would be the only steam to see these rails after 88's retirement, with 40 being retired 3 years later on May 18, 1961. In the distance can be seen the new diesels brought to replace the old steamers. It didn't seem like it at the time, but it wouldn't be long until these two faced replacement. Okay. Today me, tomorrow you. Alright, so let's talk about this. Impact, I think I'll give a 7, because it did make me go, wow, that's for sure. Actually, maybe more than a 7. Let's see it again. It screams busy, you know? There's a lot going on here. And, oh, I see they're already working on this. I don't really know how to place this one. I will give it a higher impact score because there's a lot going on here. Creativity, I don't know. It's a lot of steam engine stuff shoved in the yard that are all about to get scrapped. It is the working version of the scrapyard. I don't see the diesels. Where are they? Are they back there somewhere? Maybe they're not actually visible. I thought they might have been. Well, let's see. Why can't I minimize this? Alright. Impact, creativity. I mean, there's some decent creativity here. There's not a ton going on. You do need some more ground scatter and stuff like that. I know this is what, at least... This is tame because of these tracks, right? You have this world, you have the purple sky, I actually quite like that. And you've got all the engines in here for scrapping. This is the big turnover point. I guess it's unique in that, right? I think I can happily give it an 8, because it is unique in the situation of they're bringing all the steam engines in to scrap them. You know, this isn't a scrap yard. This is the railroad deliberately taking everything to one place to cut up. I was actually kind of wondering if we would have a shot like this, like a deadline shot. I know we got the scrapyard, but that's a little different. And as for construction here, like I said, you could use a little bit more in terms of ground scatter. I wish the camera was picked up, but that's a composition thing. I wish you had more stuff in the background, but I don't know what you would be able to see. Maybe just some more smokestacks just to dot the skyline. You've got a lot of sky in here, but that's part of the issue of it being a 4:3 aspect ratio. But as for construction, I will give it a 7. It's good, but there's nothing groundbreaking here. It's decent, I suppose. Composition, pick that camera up just a little bit more. Just a hair. I know that's tough, but I want to see more in this scene. I want to see the full magnitude of steam locomotives, and I know there's a lot, but I know there are more. But composition... At least there's an effort to make sure everything here is busy. So I'll give it an 8, for sure. Content... Oh, did we... let's talk about this. Sorry about any spelling goofs, but to the point... There was a reskin made for this being the USRA mountain type. There was going to be 2 more, but time, the second looking a little bad, and not being able to think up the third one. This will be finished in about an hour. Uh, I don't I don't know what that means. But content, there's a lot of older stuff here. I think I'll give it a 9 for content because everything is decent enough. I recognize a lot of these being Ben Neal stuff, and this is K&L. So, the switch stands are nice too. Good a 9 for content. Story had a handful of goofs. I would have proofread that. It's got a lot of information, and I appreciate it, being what it is. But Lafayette, okay. I'm gonna have to give it a 6 for story. Hi, kitty. As for world, I'll give it an 8. Give it an 8 and call it a day. Relevancy to the prompt, definitely relevant. Completeness, you didn't title the picture, so that's an 8. Sorry. And bonus, I guess I'll toss in 1 for the reskin. So let's just see where we're at. 8 plus 8 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 6 plus 8 plus 10 plus 8 plus 1. Should I be a harsher grader? I don't know. This is decent enough. Thank you for submitting. Thanks everyone for submitting. The winner of this, I think Ryan takes home another trophy. Ryan got 88 here. Which, congratulations. You get first place. Second place goes to, let's see, it was an 80, well actually, I'm sorry about that. Second place goes to, this one, even though it didn't get a higher score. Second place goes to this one. Third place goes to this one. And then everyone else, you can fight amongst yourselves as to what goes. For the rest, oof, that's been a lot of talking. I need to let my throat calm down. Like I said, I'm not really feeling well. I might look a little bit, but I hope you guys enjoyed this screenshot review, and I'd like to thank everyone for their submissions. And let's just go through them one more time. Let's start from the top. Someone play some melancholy music for the end of Steam. Except for this one. And there we go. And I'll see you next time around. This is the Admiral, signing off.